Hello, this is Diane Hinchcliffe from Web 2.0 Expo 2010 in San Francisco, and I'm very fortunate to have here Ross Mayfield from Socialtext, founder of the company, and also one of the originators of the term Enterprise 2.0, along with Andrew McAfee. I don't think a lot of people still know that.
Right. Well, actually what it was Andrew was observing an environment that we had in a bank in London at Dresdner Kleinert Wasserstein, where the CIO at the time was JP Rangaswamy. And what he had observed was this really rich social software deployment at scale. It was one of the first, enterprise-wide deployments. And he noticed, he was doing a case for the Harvard Business School, and it's a published case you can go take a look at.
It's one of the best ones out there, I think.
Yeah. And what they did was he basically said, hey, there's really something fundamentally different than traditional enterprise software here. So I remember visiting him in Cambridge, kind of over breakfast, and he's like, "Hey Ross, what do you think about this term Enterprise 2.0? Nobody's using it yet." And at the time, it made perfect sense. And he went off and published his article in the MIT Sloan Management Review. And since then, of course, he's written a pretty decent book.
It's a must-read article even now, I think.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. In terms of what we're seeing, I was watching you guys back when you just had a wiki product, and now you've kind of really expanded so you have an entire suite around all the different things we're now seeing in the social space. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys have?
So the simple founding insight we had back in 2002 was there were these technologies emerging on the social web that had better dynamics than what you found in traditional enterprise software, right? And there was a slight platform shift in which lightweight web-native applications could really be deployable and meet enterprise standards. So we picked the starting point of a wiki. We could have at the time chosen to go off and start with blogging, and we would have ended up as more of a publishing-oriented company, or RSS, and be focused more on syndication. But the wiki was the most collaborative app of all of them. It seemed to make sense as a starting point. I think we were right in picking that. It ended up being the tool that is most widely used, largely through open source and software as a service. In most enterprises today. When about 3 years ago, though, we started to recognize very different patterns starting to emerge on the web,
really?
Right? We had kind of the beginning, back in 2002, you had, there was blogs, there was social networking, an early one was called Rise, R-Y-Z-E. It was actually how I met my co-founders, was through that social network and blogging. But we started to see a different level of maturity in things like Facebook and MySpace and stuff like that. And we really saw a rise or a real opportunity to fulfill some gaps, some patterns, right? So what we did was, with Socialtext 3.0, eons ago it seems like, we broadened off beyond the wiki platform, which had wikis and blogs, into social networking, and then a dashboard that was made up of the Open Social Standard. So we were the first to deploy the Open Social Standard, apply it to the enterprise. Now there's a really great working group, great standards work that's being done around that, and it's becoming increasingly common. But most recently, a lot of it has been, I think it was about a year and a half or 2 years ago, we deployed Socialtext Signals, which is microblogging and activity streams. So much of what we're doing kind of in the next year, and in particular, is we've seen a lot of customers who are developing their open social standard widgets to expose and deliver third-party apps.
Is that going to bring like an app store to the enterprise? Or are people going to build open social applications for businesses? And is that why it makes sense? Or?
So I think it does make sense. There's already 200,000 widgets that have been developed according to the spec. Now, the majority of them are for iGoogle and consumer use. But we're increasingly seeing independent developers.
Apps,
Exactly. And in effect, we have what we call a Widget Gallery, which is an app store, and administrators of an appliance, one of the ways we deploy on site, but still have it be software as a service, they can add on their own widgets into the gallery and distribute out dashboards.
They have private versions of it?
Right. They have private versions. They can lock down what widgets go in, who gets them, create dashboards for teams out of it that might serve different needs for different kinds of teams and different kind of workers. But the most exciting thing that we've been doing recently is noticing the way that our customers are integrating Socialtext and larger third-party traditional apps, right? It all is within kind of the theme that we have, which is more about making enterprise applications social.
Right.
So we take enterprise events, whether it be from CRM to ERP, inventory,
Really, you
everything.
connect them all together.
And the whole point is, just like you had with portals, this march towards kind of a unified command line for search, right? Now you're having the same thing where you need to have one central resource for profiles that can coupled into all kinds of different applications that have a notion of a user's identity within it. And then also activity streams, so you can see what that user is doing. But the interesting thing is being able to surface these enterprise events, let natural filtering occur. I can choose whether I want to subscribe to updates from Salesforce anytime someone closes a sale, because I'm interested in that, because whether it's my job or just
a Fortune 50 CIO said to me, I get it. Microblogging, which is essentially Twitter in the enterprise.
Right.
I can see what's happening in my organization, but it's too much information. So the filtering helps with that.
The filtering definitively is needed for that, right? Part of it is this construct that we have, which is essentially a bot that represents a feed of information, and people can choose to opt in and subscribe to it, just like they would follow the activity streams and status updates from different people. But beyond that, you need to have more advanced filtering, like you get on the dashboard. There's certain widgets that, let's say, will rank what's the most active content that people are engaged in, help that bubble that up. So you want to help bubble some things out, but then also filter, whether it be leveraging the social network as a filter, or filtering by search query and keyword term and others. Right.
Very interesting. So you're considered a very influential thought leader in this space in particular, and when I hear you say things like you're starting to connect social to all of these vertical components of enterprises like CRM and ERP, everything. Do you see that kind of as a maturation of the whole social space, that we're socializing
absolutely
the meaningful parts of the enterprise?
Well, and think of it this way. So Chatter, whenever it ships and however it's priced, and it doesn't matter, but I think it's wonderful what Salesforce has done when they came into the market. What they did was to try to treat records as social objects. Now, the thing is it's almost the social layer isn't going to remain within a single application silo, right? You really need one layer where you have all of the socialization around different enterprise objects of various types, where you're helping on kind of bridge across not just application silos, but organizational silos, right? There really is a role for kind of a piece in the middle, a more human middleware, right?
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'd like to thank you for stopping by and giving us a few minutes of your time.
Yeah.
And good luck to everything you guys are doing at Socialtext.
Yeah, always good to you. Okay.
Take care.
Cool.